The Galactic Council chamber was silent. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in a wide circle, their eyes fixed on a single massive screen floating in the air. No one spoke. No one moved. Even species that never stopped making noise were quiet now. On the screen was a planet, marked with a red warning symbol. Class-15 Deathworld. It was one of the most dangerous planets ever discovered. The air was thick with poison. Violent storms covered the surface day and night. The ground cracked and shifted without warning. Enormous creatures moved through the fog like living mountains. No intelligent species could survive there. Not for long. The Council scientists had run the numbers many times. Even with advanced equipment, survival time was measured in hours, sometimes minutes. This planet had been chosen very carefully, not as a challenge, but as a message. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had arrived faster than expected. They learned quickly. They adapted too easily. And worst of all, they did not show fear the way other species did. That made the Council nervous. Some races whispered that humans were dangerous. Others believed humans would one day try to rule the stars. The Council needed proof that humans were not special, that they were weak, that they could be controlled. So they created a test. They called it fair. A council member spoke at last, his voice calm and cold. "Observe the subject world," he said. "No species has survived longer than 3 hours." Another member added, "The humans will fail. They must." The council sent an official invitation to humanity. The words were polite, friendly, respectful, but the meaning was clear. Prove yourselves, or be judged. The rules were simple and final. Humans would be placed on the death world. No outside help. No rescue teams. No interference. Survival time would be recorded and shared across the galaxy. The council expected humans to refuse. They did not. Instead, humanity accepted the test within 1 standard hour. That surprised the council. What surprised them even more was the human response message. We agreed to the terms. No questions. No complaints. No fear. The transport ship arrived above the death world days later. Alien observers filled the chamber again. Many leaned forward, eager to watch the humans fail. The landing craft broke through thick clouds and violent winds. The planet tried to tear it apart. Lightning struck the hull. Turbulence shook the ship. Finally, it landed. The doors opened. The council waited for chaos. They expected humans to run, to shout, to show panic. But the humans stepped out slowly. They stood still. They looked around. The wind howled. The ground trembled. Distant roars echoed across the land. Toxic rain began to fall. The humans did not scream. One of them adjusted their suit and looked up at the dark sky. Another knelt and touched the ground, studying it. A third laughed softly, as if amused. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. "This is unexpected," one whispered. The humans moved with purpose. They spread out. They scanned the area. They marked safe zones. Within the first hour, they had already chosen a place to build shelter. The council watched in disbelief. Hours passed. The storms grew worse. Creatures moved closer. The air sensors showed rising danger levels. The humans adapted. They reinforced their shelters. They used the terrain for protection. They learned which creatures to avoid, and which ones avoided them. One alien scientist checked the survival timer again and again. "Impossible," she said quietly. By the end of the first day, the humans were still alive. By the second day, they were organized. By the third day, they were comfortable. They communicated calmly. They shared tasks. They even rested. Alien observers began to feel something. They did not like fear. This planet was supposed to break them. Instead, the humans treated it like a challenge. A council member stood up, his voice tense. Increase observation. Record everything. On the fourth day, something happened that changed everything. The humans gathered near their main shelter. One of them activated a communicator. The signal reached the council chamber instantly. The screen shifted. A human face appeared calm, focused, and alert. The chamber froze. The human spoke clearly. We have completed our initial assessment. The council waited, ready to hear surrender. The human continued. This environment is dangerous, but manageable. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Then the human said the words that would echo across the galaxy. This challenge is too easy. Silence followed. No one spoke. No one breathed. The council realized in that moment they had made a terrible mistake. They had not tested humans. They had invited them. The council chamber erupted into noise. Leaders spoke over one another. Some shouted. Others demanded the feed be shut down at once. Several species pulled back in fear, their colors flashing in panic. This is impossible, one council scientist said. The planet's danger level has not dropped. In fact, it is rising. The main screen showed the death world again. Storms still tore across the land. Toxic clouds rolled over sharp mountains. Massive creatures moved through the fog, their shapes barely visible. And in the middle of it all, the humans remained. They moved with confidence now. Their shelters were stronger. Their equipment was modified to fit the environment. They had learned the planet's rhythms when storms came, where predators hunted, and how the land changed. The council replayed the footage from the beginning. Humans landing calmly. Humans studying the land. Humans adapting without fear. A senior council member leaned forward, his voice low, show their internal communications. The audio feed activated. What the council heard made the silence. Returned. The humans were joking. They spoke casually about the weather. They discussed improvements to their shelter. One human complained about the lack of comfortable sleeping space. Another suggested turning the experience into training material for future missions. Not one word of panic, not one sign of surrender. This cannot be real, a council diplomat whispered. They are pretending. They must be. But the data said otherwise. Medical scans showed increased heart rates during danger, but controlled. Stress levels rose, then fell. Humans reacted, adjusted, and moved on. They were not fearless. They were used to fear. Across the galaxy, other species began watching the broadcast. News networks interrupted regular programs. Scholars and generals tuned in. Even isolated worlds opened the feed. Everyone expected the same thing. To see humans die. Instead, they watched humans survive. An alien military observer spoke quietly. If any of my soldiers were placed there, they would already be dead. Another replied, if my entire species were placed there, none would remain. The death world sent a new storm. Winds reached levels known to destroy cities. The council leaned forward, expecting the end. Humans secured their structures. They lowered profiles. They waited. The storm passed. The humans stepped outside. Alive. One council member slammed a clawed limb onto the table. End this test. We have proven nothing. Another member responded sharply. We have proven something far worse. The truth was becoming clear. This test was not showing human weakness. It was showing human strength. A council scientist displayed new data. We have compared human behavior to their homeworld records. Images of Earth appeared on the screen. Earthquakes, floods, volcanoes, wars, harsh climates. This, the scientists said slowly, is what they call normal. The chamber fell quiet again. One leader asked a question no one wanted to hear. And what kind of world did they evolve on? As if the humans could sense the galaxy watching, another message came through. The human leader appeared again, standing outside their shelter. The sky behind him was dark. Lightning flashed in the distance. "We have a question for the council," the human said. The council hesitated, but allowed the transmission. "Yes?" A council representative replied carefully. The human looked almost disappointed. "Is this really the best you can do?" Gasps echoed across the chamber. The human continued. "Our people train for environments like this. We expected more." The transmission ended. No threats. No insults. Just honest words. Across the galaxy, fear began to change shape. That it became respect, and concern. Because if this was easy for humans, what would be hard? A junior council member spoke, voice shaking. What if we push further?" Several leaders turned toward him. "You suggest increasing the danger?" One asked. The junior member swallowed. "If we stop now, we admit failure. The galaxy will see it." Silence followed. Pride battled fear. Finally, the High Counselor spoke. "We will not retreat," he said. "If humans want more, we will give it to them." The council voted. A new test was approved. Not a planet. Something worse. As the decision was made, the humans continued working below, unaware that the galaxy had just chosen to test the limits of human survival, and possibly their own. The Galactic Council did not sleep. Emergency meetings replaced ceremonies. Scientists were pulled from research stations. Historians were ordered to open sealed records. Military leaders stood behind their representatives, silent and tense. The council no longer asked if humans were dangerous. They asked why. A countless, massive new display filled the chamber. At its center was a blue and green planet. Earth. A senior xenobiologist began the report. "This is the human homeworld," she said. "We previously classified it as a moderate life-bearing planet." She paused. That classification was wrong. The screen changed. Tectonic plates shifted. Continents cracked. Mountains rose. Oceans flooded coastlines. Storm systems larger than planets formed and vanished again. "Earth is unstable," the scientist continued. "Its surface is constantly changing. No region is truly safe for long." Another image appeared. Predators with sharp teeth. Fast hunters. Venomous creatures. Massive animals capable of killing with a single strike. Humans did not dominate their world because it was kind, she said. They dominated it because it was cruel. A council member leaned forward, explained their survival instincts. The screen showed human history in fast motion. Early humans running from predators. Humans fighting each other. Humans building tools, shelters, weapons. They learned to adapt or die, the scientist said. Fear did not stop them. It trained them. The room grew colder. Another researcher stepped forward. We analyzed human emotional responses during the Deathworld test. Charts appeared. When danger appears, humans feel fear, he said. But they do not freeze. Their fear becomes focus. The council understood now. Humans were not calm because they lacked fear. They were calm because they had mastered it. The High Counselor spoke slowly. You were saying their homeworld prepared them for this. Yes, the scientist replied. A Class-15 Deathworld is not unfamiliar to them. A murmur spread through the chamber. If Earth is so dangerous, another leader asked, why are humans still alive at all? The answer came from a human historian's translated records, because they refused to give up. The council watched more footage from the Deathworld. Humans improving tools. Humans mapping threats. Humans planning weeks ahead. One council member whispered, they treat survival like routine. Another asked the question everyone feared. If this is how they live, what happens when they fight? No one answered. The High Counselor turned toward the military advisors. If humans wanted to conquer the galaxy, could they? The generals did not speak immediately. Finally, one answered honestly, yes. Silence crushed the chamber. At that moment, a new message arrived from the human expedition. The humans had discovered deeper dangers on the Deathworld. A massive predator had entered their region. Storms had grown more violent. Radiation levels were rising. The council waited for retreat. Instead, the human commander sent a calm update. Conditions worsening. Adaptation ongoing. No fear. No request for help. The council realized something terrifying. This test had not weakened humans. It had made them stronger. A junior council member stood, his voice shaking. We must stop. If we push further, we may awaken something we cannot control. Others disagreed. If we stop now, one leader argued, we look weak. The galaxy is watching. Pride won. The High Counselor raised his hand. We will proceed with the next phase. The scientists exchanged uneasy looks. This next test is not a planet, one warned. No organic life has ever survived it. Good, the High Counselor replied. Then the humans will finally fail. The decision was sealed. The Council approved access to forbidden coordinates. A place where physics broke. A place even machines avoided. A Class-15 zone. As the Council prepared the challenge. Far below on the Deathworld, the humans stood beneath a violent sky. One of them looked up and said quietly, "Feels like home." The galaxy should have listened. The decision was made in silence. The Galactic Council sealed the chamber and cut all public feeds. What they were about to approve was not meant to be seen, not meant to be spoken of. The coordinates appeared on the central display. A dark region of space with no stars, no light, no life. This is a Class-18 zone, a senior scientist said carefully. It is not a world. It is a broken place. The screen shifted. Space twisted in strange ways. Gravity moved without pattern. Energy storms flashed and vanished. Sensors showed impossible readings up, down, and time itself behaved differently. No species has ever survived inside it, the scientists continued. Not even unmanned probes. Machines failed within seconds. Signals collapsed. Matter broke apart. The High Counselor did not look away. Prepared, he said. Some council members protested. This goes beyond testing, one argued. This is execution. The High Counselor answered coldly. The humans asked for something harder. The room fell quiet. If the humans refused, the council would be safe. If they accepted, the problem would end itself. A formal message was sent to the human expedition. It described a new challenge in careful words. Neutral, clean, a dangerous region of space. No rescue possible. No interference. The council waited. The response came faster than expected. The human commander appeared on screen. Behind him, the Deathworld raged. As if angry at being left behind, this environment is more. Interesting, the human said. No hesitation. We accept. Several council members felt a chill. Preparations began immediately. A specialized transport vessel was built stronger than any before. Even then, scientists believed it would not survive long. The galaxy watched again. Millions of eyes followed the human ship as it left the Deathworld behind. Some alien viewers felt relief. Others felt dread. As the ship approached the Class-18 zone, instruments failed one by one. Gravity pulled in strange directions. Time signals slipped out of sync. Structural integrity dropping. An alien observer whispered. The human crew remained calm. They adjusted systems. They reinforced weak points. They worked together with quiet focus. The ship crossed the boundary. Space itself seemed to twist. Sensors went dark. The council chamber went silent. Minutes passed. No signal. Some council members relaxed, believing it was over. Then movement. A faint signal returned. The human ship was still intact, barely inside the zone. Reality pressed against the hull. Gravity surged and vanished. Energy storms struck without warning. The humans did not panic, they adapted. They changed movement patterns. They anchored themselves. They altered power flows to match the shifting environment. The council watched in disbelief. How are they still functioning? One scientist whispered, the answer was simple. Humans expected things to go wrong. Inside the zone, the humans encountered something worse. Us. Region where gravity collapsed. Completely. The ship was torn apart. The humans were forced to abandon it. Alien observers stood in shock as human life signs scattered into the zone. This is the end, someone said softly. But the humans survived again, using emergency suits. They formed groups. They tethered themselves together. They used debris as shelter. They did not flee. They explored. The council could not understand what they were seeing. The zone destroyed everything, except humans. Hours turned into days, against all logic. Human life signs stabilized. Then the humans sent a message. The signal was weak, but clear enough. Environment extremely unstable, the human commander reported. Challenging. Recommended for advanced training only. The chamber exploded into noise. Training. The High Counselor felt something he had never felt before. Regret. Because the galaxy had just proven one thing beyond doubt. There was no environment too harsh, only species too unprepared, and humans were very prepared. The Galactic Council no longer argued. They stared at the screens in stunned silence, watching human life signs remain stable inside the Class-15 zone. Numbers that should have dropped to 0 did not. A senior scientist spoke slowly, as if afraid the truth might break. They should be dead, she said, by every known rule of physics. But the humans were still there. They moved carefully now. Their suits were damaged. Their supplies were limited. Every moment inside the zone was a struggle, and still, they endured. Across the galaxy, reactions began to change. At first, fear had ruled. Now something else grew in its place. Respect. Alien military academies replayed the footage. Survival experts studied human movements. Engineers paused the recordings, trying to understand how humans adapted so quickly. One alien commander spoke to his students. Observe how they work together, he said. No single human is strong enough to survive this alone. But together, they are unstoppable. On another world, a scholar watched the humans stabilize a broken shelter, using scraps of destroyed technology. They treat disaster like a puzzle, she whispered. Inside the zone, the humans faced constant danger. Gravity shifts tore equipment from their hands. Energy waves burned through shielding. Time distortions caused confusion and fatigue. Yet humans adapted again. They marked safe moments. They learned the patterns. They rested when they could and moved when they must. They were not fearless. They were disciplined. The council received another human transmission. Our systems are failing, the commander reported. But we are learning. Learning. The word echoed through the chamber. The council finally understood the mistake they had made. Every test they created did not weaken humans. It trained them. Council elder stood, his voice quiet but heavy. We wanted to control them, he said. Instead, we have shown them what they can survive. Another added, if they ever turn against us, it will be because we taught them how. Some council members began to argue for peace. We must end this, one said. Offer cooperation. Ask for alliance. Others feared humiliation. If we admit failure now, a leader argued, the galaxy will lose faith in us. While the council debated, something unexpected happened. An independent alien world sent a message, not to the council, but to humanity. The message was short. Teach us. The council panicked. If one species asked for human help, others would follow. Humans were no longer test subjects. They were becoming examples. Inside the Class-15 zone, the humans received the message. The commander read it twice. "We will respond after extraction," he said. Calmly. Extraction. The word shocked the council. No rescue had been planned, but the humans were already planning their own escape. They used broken ship parts. They studied the zone's unstable physics. They waited for the right moment. They were not trapped. They were adapting again. The council watched as human life signs moved toward the edge of the zone. Hope rose among some leaders. Fear returned for others, because once humans returned, they would return changed. The High Counselor finally spoke, his voice tired. "We wanted to see how humans die," he said. A long pause followed. "Instead, we learned how they live." And the galaxy would never forget that lesson. The Galactic Council was no longer united. Some members watched the human extraction attempt with hope. Others watched with fear. A few watched with quiet anger. Humans were not supposed to survive the Class-15 zone. They were not supposed to plan inside it. They were not supposed to leave it. And yet, the screen showed human life signs moving closer to the zone's edge, timing their movement with strange gravity shifts and energy waves. "They are reading the zone," a scientist said in disbelief. "Like sailors reading storms." Another replied, "No, like survivors reading danger." The High Counselor's authority weakened with every passing hour. Worlds that once obeyed without question now whispered among themselves. If the Council could not control humans, what else could it not control? Messages began arriving from across the galaxy. Requests, questions, warnings. Several species asked the same thing in different words. "Are humans safe to ally with?" Others asked something more direct. "Can humans protect us?" The Council had no answer. Inside the Class-15 zone, the humans made their move. They waited for a rare moment when gravity flattened and energy storms paused. Using broken ship engines and improvised shields, they pushed forward. The zone fought back. Space twisted violently. Time lagged. One human was nearly lost when a tether snapped, but another grabbed them without hesitation. They did not leave anyone behind. The galaxy watched in complete silence. Then, one by one, human life signs crossed the boundary. They were out. Cheers erupted on several worlds. Some species showed joy openly. Others hid it behind careful silence. The humans were recovered by their own support fleet, which had waited at a safe distance without breaking the rules. The human commander appeared on the Council's screen again. His suit was damaged. His face showed exhaustion, but his eyes were steady. "We survived," he said simply. "And we learned." The High Counselor forced himself to speak. "The test is over," he said. "The results will be reviewed." The human commander tilted his head slightly. "We were not aware this was still a test," he replied. "We thought it was a demonstration." That single sentence spread across the galaxy. A demonstration. The Council's power cracked. Some members resigned. Others demanded reform. Several worlds announced they would no longer follow Council rulings without question. Humans had not attacked anyone. They had not threatened anyone. They had simply survived, and survival in a dangerous galaxy meant strength. A senior council member spoke quietly to the High Counselor. "We cannot treat them as subjects anymore." The High Counselor nodded slowly. "I know," he said, across the galaxy. New labels appeared in official records. Humans, extreme environment survivors, adaptive intelligence species, high risk, high value allies. The Council had wanted control. Instead, they had revealed something far more powerful. Hope, and hope, once seen, could not be taken back. The Galactic Council was no longer united. For the first time in centuries, its members openly disagreed. The tests had failed. The control they once held over the narrative was slipping away. Across the galaxy, species were asking questions. Why were humans tested so harshly? Why were they still alive? Why did they seem stronger after every challenge? Council archives were opened under pressure. Old decisions were questioned. Ancient laws were reread. One truth became clear. The Council feared humans not because they were violent, but because they could not be controlled. Military leaders spoke in private chambers. If humans chose war, one general said, we would lose. Another answered, they would not rush. They would adapt. And then we would lose. This terrified them more than brute force ever could. Meanwhile, the humans prepared to leave the Class-15 zone. Their escape plan was dangerous. Timing had to be perfect. One mistake would mean being lost forever. The Council watched closely, expecting failure at the final moment. But humans worked together with calm precision. They waited. They adjusted. They trusted one another. When the moment came, they moved. A burst of energy. A shift in gravity. Then silence. For several seconds. No signal appeared. Then, the screens lit up. Human life signs reappeared. Outside the zone. Alive. The chamber filled with stunned disbelief. Some council members lowered their heads. Others stared in fear. The humans sent one final update. Mission complete, the commander said. Survivable with preparation. Survivable. The Council understood then. There was no place. In the galaxy, humans could not eventually survive. And that meant something far more important. There was no place they could not reach. The humans returned to Council space days later. This time, there was no test waiting for them. There were no hidden traps, only silence. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to see them. Some watched with fear, others with hope, many with respect. The High Counselor addressed the humans directly. You have proven your strength, he said. Tell us what you want. The chamber held its breath. Power, territory, control. That was what the Council expected. The human commander stepped forward. We want understanding, he said simply. Words surprised everyone. We were tested because you feared us, the human continued. We survived because that is what we do. He looked around the chamber. We do not want to rule you. We do not want your worlds. A pause. We want to stand with you. Whispers spread through the crowd. The human finished his message. If you face a danger, you cannot survive alone. We will help. Silence followed. Then, slowly, something changed. Fear eased. Respect grew stronger. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as a threat, but as allies forged by hardship. The Council voted again. This time, the decision was unanimous. All Deathworld tests were banned. Humanity was given a new classification, adaptive species, extreme survival class, as the humans left the chamber. Many alien leaders watched them go. Some felt relief, some felt awe, and some felt a quiet warning settle into their minds. Never test humans to see how they break. Test them only if you are ready to see how strong they become. The humans returned, not in the way the Galactic Council had expected. No triumphant banners, no desperate cries, no frantic warnings. Just calm, deliberate movement, as though they had been on a long journey and were simply coming home. The Class-15 zone had tried to break them. It had hurled storms that bent the laws of physics, creatures that should not have existed, and time itself that twisted unpredictably. Yet, here they were, alive, standing tall, organized, focused. Across the galaxy, species watched the live feed. Silence fell on worlds that had once mocked humans. Entire fleets paused their maneuvers. Alien academics, generals, and diplomats leaned toward screens with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. Humans had returned from the impossible, and they were unharmed, unbroken, unbowed. The Galactic Council convened again. The chamber was tense. Every leader, no matter their species, knew that the events of the past weeks had changed everything. The Deathworld test. The Class-15 zone. Humanity had survived both and more than survived. They had conquered the challenge itself. The High Counselor, normally stern and unshakable, removed his ceremonial headpiece and leaned on the table. "We wanted to prove they were weak," he said slowly. "We wanted to show that they were manageable. Instead, we've learned the opposite. Humanity is beyond what we understood." Other members murmured. Some tried to downplay the situation. "They are still mortal," one argued. "Even they have limits." "Yes," said the High Counselor, "but their limits are not what we expect. They adapt. They cooperate. They endure. And they never surrender." The Council finally had to make a difficult choice. Humans could no longer be treated as a minor species or an experiment. They had proven their value and their power. Some members feared that giving them freedom could be dangerous. Others realized that suppressing them would be catastrophic. A vote was held. For the first time in history, the Council made a decision that prioritized survival over pride. Humanity would no longer be tested or controlled. Their people would be acknowledged as a force the galaxy could neither underestimate nor dominate. Across the stars, news traveled quickly. Aliens who had once feared humans now sought guidance. One by one, messages arrived. Requests for trade, for advice, for joint exploration missions. The humans did not take advantage. They did not demand obedience. They offered cooperation. They offered respect, but only in return for respect. The High Counselor sent a formal message to all member species. Humanity has completed challenges no other species could survive. They've endured trials we created for death. We declare all Deathworld testing and similar experiments against humans to be forbidden. From this day, they are recognized as a fully adaptive species of extreme survival capability. The word spread. Adaptive species, extreme survival class. It was not just a label. It was a warning, a promise, a recognition. Humanity had endured the worst the galaxy could throw at them and lived to teach the lesson. Back on Earth, and on ships across the stars, humans did not celebrate in loud fanfare. There were no parades, no grand ceremonies. They had faced impossible odds before. Survival was normal. They shared quiet words, repaired equipment, studied every failure and every success. They taught themselves lessons they had always known. Unity is strength, fear is a tool, and no challenge is truly impossible when faced together. Yet even in their quiet triumph, humans understood something vital. The galaxy had changed. Alien races that once mocked them, tested them, or feared them, now regarded them differently. Some would follow. Some would respect cautiously. Some might try to challenge them again someday, but the lesson was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. For the Galactic Council, there was no return to the old ways. The stories of the Deathworld and the Class-15 zone would be recorded in every historical archive. They would remind every species that strength was not only in weapons or numbers, but in courage, intelligence, and endurance. And most importantly, that humans had taught a lesson the galaxy could not forget. Survival is not about avoiding danger. It is about mastering it in the aftermath. Alliances shifted. Species that once competed violently for dominance sought human counsel. Wars paused as humans mediated negotiations. Exploration missions expanded with humans leading the way, teaching others how to navigate dangerous worlds and unpredictable phenomena. Across countless systems, Humans' example inspired both awe and caution, and yet humans remained humble. They did not seek dominion. They did not boast. Their message to the stars was simple: we do not want to rule. We want to stand alongside those who respect the challenge of life. As we respected ourselves, the galaxy listened. The legends of the Deathworld and the Class-15 zone became stories told across worlds. Stories not of human invincibility, but of human perseverance. Stories of a species that faced impossible odds, stared into the void, and emerged unbroken. And as the stars turned and new dangers emerged in the far reaches of space, one truth had been engraved into the memory of every species: never challenge humans unless you are ready to lose. For in their quiet determination, their unity, and their unyielding spirit, humanity had changed the galaxy forever. The council closed its chambers. Alien observers returned to their posts. Ships resumed their journeys. But a silent understanding lingered in every mind. The era of humanity had begun, not as conquerors, but as survivors, teachers, and equals. And in the vast, dark expanse of space, that was more powerful than any weapon.